And thank you all for joining tonight's special Building Electrification webinar entitled Electrify Everything with IRA Funds. I'm Pat Miller, and my husband Steve and I are co-hosts and tonight's presenters. We'll discuss how you can receive and spend the thousands of dollars in IRA tax credits and rebates to help this become the decade of building electrification in New Jersey. We'll handle the questions at the end because we know there are going to be a lot of questions and we won't get through the talk if we don't do that. But we do plan to finish by 8:15. You can write your questions in the chat in the meantime, and please do. And I think everybody here is on mute, so I don't need to remind you to please keep yourself on mute. Okay, I'm going to see if I can share the screen. Okay. All right. So Steve and I are the co-founders of the New Jersey 50 by 30 Building Electrification team. Can everybody see the screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. And Steve, you have to be on mute too. We are also climate activists and retired engineers and managers at the former Bell Labs in Homedale. We're going to give a quick overview of what we know as of now, because it always keeps changing, about the two big federal bills that were passed last year, the Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA, and the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA, and the incentives they give for electrification of buildings and vehicles. Then we'll review the steps we personally have taken toward electrification and the money that we're saving in ongoing energy costs. You know, I'm going to stop this share and do it the other way. Because that was not working. Now let's see. Aha, okay. The first few slides that we have come mainly from a Sierra Club campaign and cover the benefits and provisions of the two laws in general. The IIJA, sometimes referred to as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, provides $500 billion in new infrastructure spending, much of which can be applied to clean energy over 5 years. In particular, it includes the EV charging nationwide network, public transportation, and upgrades to passenger and freight rail. The Inflation Reduction Act, IRA, is a 9-year spending bill that directs nearly $400 billion in federal funding to clean energy and conservation efforts. Together, the two bills provide over 400 funding streams or programs that will flow to state and local governments in different ways. There are 3 kinds of grants, the first 3 bullets, plus loans that will all go to states, cities, or NGOs. We'll talk in more detail about the 5th stream, which is direct incentives to individuals from the IRA. First, the high-level goals of the bills. Environmental justice is the elephant in the room that we have talked and talked about, but just haven't done enough to fix. Funding from both bills is meant to realize President Biden's Justice 40 order. 40% of all climate investments are to go to disadvantaged communities to address the pollution and its consequences that the fossil fuel extractive and exploitative economy has imposed. And during our climate reality training, we heard a lot about Justice 40, but they never said what it was exactly. But it is an executive order, which means it's not a law, but it is a goal of all of these laws. Now, the IRA in particular funds are meant to shift money away from fossil fuels and to restore clean air and water, provide affordable clean energy, support good paying jobs, and increase the ability of communities to be resilient to climate disruptions. The IRA funds also will go to replace fossil fuels with clean energy. The goal is 80% carbon emissions free electricity and the end of the sale of gas appliances, both by 2030. The Infrastructure Act funds are targeted to make 60% of all new light-duty vehicles and 30% of new heavy-duty vehicles electric within 5 years. Remember, it lasts only 5 years. The IRA lasts 9 years. The next part of the talk comes mainly from slides provided by Climate Reality Project. It focuses on the IRA, how best to take advantage of its rebates and tax credits, and to match them with local and state measures as well. This act allocates almost $370 billion, according to the official estimate, to climate solutions and energy security. But it comes largely in the form of tax credits that don't have any limit on how many of them can be activated during the 9 years. So many experts believe that it's going to be much larger than that. It just depends how many people can be motivated to take advantage of the tax credits for electrification. For example, Goldman Sachs thinks it could be 2 to 3 times as big. And this law, when combined with existing policy, will enable the U.S. to sharply reduce global warming pollution by 40% or so below the 2005 levels, and do this by 2030. That's getting close to the commitments we made as part of the Paris Agreement, as well as both President Biden's and Governor Murphy's stated goals. Biden wants 50% by 2035, and Governor Murphy is 50 by 30. The IRA also has incredible economic benefits. It saves money for American households, creates more than 9 million good new jobs, and reduces energy bills and energy expenditures for the entire country by at least 4%. Amazing savings across all Americans and their families. It's expected to result in more than $4 trillion in new cumulative capital investment. These provisions are triggered when the private sector, individuals, companies, cities, and states invest money in order to get the benefits of the IRA. For example, take solar and wind. This nearly doubles the current spending on solar and wind. And for us building electrification enthusiasts, we're excited about the shift to heat pumps, induction stoves, more efficient electric appliances, and EVs and industrial technologies that are more efficient. We got Congress to pass the IRA and make it law. The next step is to make our voices heard with the local and especially state policymakers, because this is the time for them to join in. It's beneficial for them, beneficial for all of us, but there are several hundred different programs, many of which the state has to implement in order to distribute the money. State policymakers are crucial. Let's take a look at some of the different categories. State legislators, for example, can mandate greater use of clean energy. In fact, in New Jersey, they already do this by increasing the RPS, or Renewable Portfolio Standard, every year. The legislation could be changed to require that the energy be purchased within New Jersey and bring more funding into the state. Legislators can incentivize building more batteries for energy storage and help create smarter, stronger, more reliable grids on a state or regional basis. These both could help reduce peak demand or enable local power generation and greater use of microgrids. One of the key tasks ahead of us is to prod state offices and utilities to make full use of the IRA funding for the energy transition. We do want to spend it in the next 9 years and spend it in New Jersey. Governors and state energy offices can accelerate the development of clean energy. They can support and invest in the creation of new clean energy jobs. They can encourage state agencies and private businesses to collaborate for even faster decarbonization. Public utility commissioners, that's our BPU in New Jersey, can ensure that utilities plan adequately and come up with their pricing with the latest and cheaper cost of clean energy, because the IRA makes it even cheaper. The price of clean energy keeps going down on its own. It'll go down even faster with the IRA. The BPU can streamline the permitting and connection of renewables to the grid. So, what can we do? We can lead by doing. We need to get active and take advantage of the tax credits and incentives that are available to each one of us individually. We can educate our communities on the IRA and its provisions and how to gain access to the clean energy incentives. We can advocate for new state laws and building codes that boost the electrification of buildings to take advantage of the enormous tax credits that are available there. At the core is something near and dear to our hearts: building decarbonization. It's the process of replacing or upgrading a building's infrastructure, systems, and appliances in a way that lowers greenhouse gas emissions. For us, that's the quote, electrify everything of our title, with 100% clean electricity, plus weatherization for maximum energy efficiency. Buildings account for more than 30% of the energy-related carbon dioxide emissions in the US. It's slightly less than that in New Jersey because our transportation emissions are so much higher than average. The reductions in carbon emissions can come from a mix of things: energy efficiency, lower demand for energy, fewer and better materials, and the generation of clean energy. There are many ways that individuals can pursue building decarbonization, and we individuals have to be the catalyst to make it happen. It's going to be voluntary, at least at first. Most important is to replace gas-fueled appliances such as furnaces and water heaters with more efficient electric alternatives. And the heat pump versions of space and water heaters save you money and are several times more efficient than other types. And it doesn't matter how cold the climate is where you live. People in Maine, people in Canada, cold climate heat pumps work just fine. And also switch to LED lighting, of course. Energy efficiency is very important also. Upgrading insulation, both attic and walls, air sealing and weather stripping, making sure windows are as airtight as possible. There are now benefits in the IRA available to help us do all these things. Plus, one of the most cost-effective things you can do is to install rooftop solar systems and on-site battery storage. Lots of people are doing this, and the provisions of this new law make it much easier for everybody to do. An alternative to rooftop solar is community solar. Wherever individual rooftop solar systems aren't really that viable, say if you're living in an apartment, you can be part of a group using community solar. We just had a webinar on that a couple of months ago. It's a fast growing form of solar energy, not just in New Jersey, across the US, and it's now being marketed aggressively in New Jersey. We personally are subscribed to a system, and Steve's going to talk about that. So, what are the benefits if we decarbonize buildings? We know a lot of this, but let's just go over, tick them off. First of all, we reduce a big source of air pollution. We can reduce our own greenhouse gas emissions to zero very quickly and help solve the climate crisis. And there are cost benefits. The electric appliances have a much lower lifetime cost of operating and cost of ownership than the fossil fuel-based alternatives. The energy efficiency measures reduce, on average, 25% of a household's total energy use, and thus save about 25% in energy costs. That adds up to real money. Rooftop solar has a payback of 7 to 10 years and thereafter provides free energy. The rebates and tax credits in this law make all of these upgrades far more affordable than they have been. There are benefits where environmental justice is concerned, and it's high time that we paid the kind of attention to this horrible challenge and the needed solutions that we see in this law. Home environments have been shown to be extremely important determinants of the health of the people who live in the homes, and low-income communities experience higher rates of asthma, especially among children, and are far more likely to suffer from health impacts related to pollution and the exposure to extreme heat. These incentives will have maybe the biggest impact in the communities that up to now have been unable financially to make the improvements. Available incentives also especially benefit frontline communities by lowering their exposure to pollution, both inside and outside the homes. Plus, they increase comfort and prevent deaths by providing access to clean and affordable heating and cooling. You've heard a lot about gas stoves recently. I didn't realize until I looked at the research, and we've seen some of it in the news media recently. 1 out of every 8 cases of childhood asthma is linked to gas stove pollution, which leaks, L-E-A-K, not only methane and carbon dioxide into the room, but also nitrous oxide, which is poisonous. It's a serious problem. A Consumer Reports study found that the electric stovetops are far better in many ways. They boil water faster, they simmer more consistently, For cost, it's the best option, and they broil better than their gas counterparts. Induction cooktops use heat in an unusual way. They use a magnetic current that is evenly distributed through the cooking pan. And when you remove the pan, the cooktop itself is cool to the touch. There's no wasted heat. The experts have been recommending induction stoves for a long time. Now, with these incentives, it's time to make the switch. And heat pumps. We've had so many webinars about heat pumps, but here's an example. Modern heat pumps are incredibly efficient. They reduce electricity use for heating by half or more compared to electric resistance heating like furnaces and baseboard heaters, and they both heat and cool. Also, high efficiency heat pumps dehumidify much better than the standard central air conditioning units, and that results in less energy use and more cooling comfort. When it comes to EVs, you see the same improvements. On average, the maintenance cost for battery electric vehicle is 40% less than the maintenance cost for internal combustion engines. And of course, the cost of operation is much, much lower. Starting late this year, the IRA is going to offer rebates for electrification and energy efficiency. The delay is that the funds come through state programs that need to be created or modified to incorporate any state-funded rebates, many of which already exist in New Jersey. These rebates will be only for low or moderate income households and will probably be through the vendor at the point of sale. Rebates of up to $8,000 will be available for heat pumps, another $8,000 for some home efficiency upgrades. These are really super important. $4,000 to upgrade electrical panels and another $2,500 for inside wiring. So this is really helpful and can potentially cover the whole bill for people who can't afford it on their own. And these are aimed mainly at low and moderate income people. The heat pump and water heaters are so much more efficient. Heat pump water heaters are so much more efficient, and the rebates for them are up to $1,750 per individual. If you need to replace your water heater, it should be with a heat pump one. $1,600 is for weatherization, $840 to help purchase the induction electric stoves, and $840 for heat pump clothes dryers. Also another big efficiency gain. And these numbers are the maximum that's available, and it depends on your income how much you get. Tax credits, on the other hand, are available for all income levels, provided you pay enough in taxes to cover the credit, which most people do. The law also allocates tax credits of up to $7,500 for new EVs and $4,000 for used EVs. That was an interesting debate when it took place, and the advocates made it clear that it's really going to help lower income people who want to buy EVs but can't afford a new car. There's $1,000 for EV chargers. You can put in your garage or wherever. And of course, they're also expanding in the infrastructure law, the public network of charging. There's a $2,000 tax credit for heat pump HVAC systems, another $2,000 for heat pump water heaters. These are all tax credits. $1,200 for weatherization, and again, money for the electrical panels, $600. And 30% for battery storage, 30% for geothermal heating to supply your heat pump if you live in the colder part of the state or if you just decide you want greater efficiency that geothermal provides, and 30% for rooftop solar. Steve's going to have a little more detail about the various programs, the rebates, um, and the tax credits. But for now, how can you take advantage of these incentives, especially the tax credits? First of all, make sure that you're going to owe enough in federal tax to get the benefit out of it, which would be offset by the value of the credit. Anything you do this year that's in 2023 will count for a tax credit when you file in April 2024. So you don't get the money now, you get the money with your tax refund. Next, make sure your purchase meets the provisions of the tax credit that are relevant for the efficiency or product standards. They have to be high efficient or you won't get the full credit or maybe any credit. Then save your receipts. You may need them. Fill out the appropriate forms when you file your taxes, and the IRS is expected to release updated forms for the next season very soon. We also hope to see updated lists of the qualified products that are eligible for the tax credits. Also, a really positive thing about the tax credits is that you can use the tax credits up to a certain limit, which is $3,200 total, every year, year after year, for the 9 years of the law, by incrementally staggering your projects until you have electrified everything. Um, a home energy audit is the first step in your journey toward electrification of your home. All the gas and electric utilities in New Jersey and some private companies offer this service at a very low price, and the IRA offers a tax credit to cover some of the costs of the home energy audit. It's worth getting. As I said before, you can expect an average of 25% less energy usage if you take their recommended efficiency measures. An audit can help you decide where to begin investing in the electrification of your home and in choosing the tax credits for efficient appliances and weatherization upgrades that are best for you. So there is still work to do. In spite of all this progress, we need to work with state agencies and lawmakers to close the gaps in the law, incorporate state with federal funding, and ensure that everyone will be able to afford the transition to clean, electrified homes, lower energy costs, and cleaner air. And we need to spread the word to everyone to use these unlimited tax credit funds so that we all can get to zero emissions before the 9-year time limit expires. Other things that need to be done are training more electricians and contractors, and by speeding up permitting for retrofits, we need to give people the information they need to make the right decisions through combating the fossil fuel industry's continuing dishonest disinformation campaigns. Now, this is really a useful tool to calculate the incentives you're eligible for, especially the Rewiring America website, which is the yellow one in front. We're going to give you more information about how to get to this, and Steve has a list of links at the end. But what you do is enter your zip code and income in this calculator, and it tells you which incentives you qualify for and how much. So please share this presentation with your friends, and we are going to send it out to everybody, the slides and the recording. and your family and your wider network. Go to climaterealityproject.org/axe2action to join the campaign and make this our climate moment. And now Steve will talk about our own home projects and the economic analysis for how much money we're saving. And I need to stop share.
Thank you, Pat.
Okay.
So I have my portion of the talk coming up, and I'm going to share screen. So I'm Steve Miller.
You didn't hear what I said. I said put the mic a little closer to your face
Oh.
and I can see your share.
Okay. Try this. I'm Steve Miller, and I'm going to be talking about the electrification we have been doing in our own, in our daughter's house, in our church, and that was reported by others during webinars. And I show the financial analysis of first year with our own heat pump. And the good news is it's savings. We have used this chart before, but I want to refresh our memories about the source of greenhouse gas emissions in New Jersey. This bar chart is from an official New Jersey study on the status of our Global Warming Response Act. The biggest problems are not solved by something simple like recycling. Look at the three top bars. Our New Jersey emissions are almost all, totaling 87%, from three sectors. They're from transportation, from buildings, and electricity generation, which is mainly from burning gas in power plants. So here's the way we decided to tackle the top three issues. First is clean electricity, that's 19% of the total. Then transportation, which is 42% in New Jersey, and buildings, which is 26%. Everyone should change to clean electricity immediately in one of several ways. You can install rooftop solar that has the greatest profit, if you can do it, or you can get up to a 30% tax credit from the IRA and more if you also install battery storage with rooftop solar. We live in a forest with no sun, so our choice for now is to subscribe to community solar and buy it privately from the developer of a large off-site solar project. We have just subscribed to Solar Landscape. It's a project on top of a warehouse at Garden State Parkway, exit 105 in Tinton Falls. The price is 21% less than JCP&L, and it is put on the grid 10 miles from our house. For the last several years, we had used 100% clean third-party supplier of wind in Texas, but a local source is better. To buy community solar, you too can go to Sustainable Jersey's website. You can see it on this slide. You can scan the QR code or just type in the Sustainable Jersey /community solar site. And you need to enter your zip code and it'll come up with projects near you. The next step we took personally was to electrify our transportation with a plug-in EV that was comparable in price to a regular hybrid. Ours is a Prius Prime plug-in hybrid, which we charge in a regular household outlet with our clean electricity. And the car goes 30 miles on a charge before switching automatically to the hybrid engine. The hybrid engine itself gets 65 miles per gallon. And here it is being charged in our garage. Today, we are talking about the Inflation Reduction Act, which provides a tax credit of $7,500 for a new EV or $4,000 for a used EV, plus $1,000 to install a charger in your home. But those numbers are subject to some restrictions. So we have addressed clean electricity and transportation. Next up is buildings. The first thing to do is to take energy efficiency measures like insulating, CO leaks, switch to LED lighting, and smart thermostats. Remember, the cheapest energy is the energy you don't use. We had a home energy assessment, and we took all the recommended measures. And what you see here is what amounts to a zippered refrigerator bag over the attic stairs on the left, and lots of additional insulation in the attic. There are tax credits in the IRA for energy efficiency. The next step is to start now to switch household appliances to electricity, and do this when they need to be replaced. It will take several years. The most important and carbon-intensive appliance to replace is the gas furnace or oil boiler. When it or an AC needs to be replaced, be sure to switch to electric heat pump for both heating and cooling, because the heat pump does the job of both furnace and AC, is much more efficient than either, and provides cleaner, more comfortable air for your home. The IRA offers up to $8,000 rebate for installing a heat pump for low and moderate income, and $2,000 tax credit for higher income. Other appliances you will want to start upgrading to electricity are the water heater, the stove, and the dryer. The IRA gives some rebates for these as well. The more efficient high-tech electric appliances are getting cheaper. The electricity will be dropping in price as the percent renewable goes up, and price of frac gas are a lot higher now, and because of the Russia's war, and gas will start to go up steadily as government subsidies are phased out and as demand drops. So in mid-2021, one of our two ACs stopped working. We followed through on our plan to install a heat pump to replace a broken AC and to use our existing gas furnace just as a backup. We paid $5,000 for this heat pump, and that's the unit on the right. That's about the same as an average price for a replacement AC. And we connected that heat pump to the first floor furnace for backup in the very coldest temperatures. Because our house has a large open area between the first and second floor, much of the heat rises to heat the second floor also. And we were able to cut our total gas use by more than half with only the one heat pump. And this past winter was so mild that in some months we used no gas. And I'll show you the financial data in a few minutes. And then in the fall of 2022, we had another big surprise. Our gas water heat sprang a leak, but I had been shopping for the last couple of years and I knew what I wanted. So I replaced the broken gas water heater with an electric heat pump water heater. We received a rebate from New Jersey for $750. And this year, the IRA provides an additional tax credit of $2,000, of which regrettably we missed out on. Here is a picture of our heat pump pool heater. Now I realize most people don't have a pool to worry about, but we do, and have been heating it with gas for 30 years. Now I know that this was a terrible waste of carbon emissions. So when the gas heater needed to be replaced, this was actually the first electric heat pump appliance we bought about 5 years ago. Sorry, there's no tax credits for luxuries, but at least we are no longer harming the earth. And I recently calculated that a heat pump pool heater is up to 2 times more efficient than a gas-powered pool heater. Now I realize that I've been saving a lot of money heating my pool for the last 5 years. One thing you are likely to find when adding all these electrical appliances and EVs is that you don't have enough circuits or even outlets available, and electrical work is needed. The IRA provides up to $6,500 rebate or $600 tax credit for electrical work, and up to $1,000 tax credit for EV chargers. Our original electrical panel on the right was completely filled, even with a space-saving trick of replacing the original large single circuit breakers with the same physical size double circuit breakers. So for our electrical additions, I had a new smaller box on the left that should allow for our future needs. It's important to have a plan for electrification. The IRA provides an electrical panel, and this is an example of the path a person or family can choose to take over the course of years. It's important to be prepared to upgrade to the most economical electric whenever a gas or oil appliance or a gasoline vehicle needs to be upgraded. Right now, not all HVAC dealers or even appliance stores have heat pump versions on stock, nor do they have knowledge to install them quickly. So shop around now and determine what your needs might be and what dealers carry them. Our webinars and our websites contain possibilities for you, and the last slide at the end of this deck has links to these resources. 2022 was our first full year of heating with a single heat pump. We installed it January 6th, 2022. The first column is our actual 2022 operating cost with the heat pump. The second column is what it would have cost had we stuck with the original gas furnace and AC. The way I calculated the 2022 data was to use the actual 2021 gas consumption with a correction factor for the actual difference in degree days between 2021 and 2022. And I used the actual 2022 cost of natural gas for each of the months of 2022. A big selling point of electrifying is, for many people, is economic. Compared to the actual total cost for the year 2022, the savings were quite dramatic. 23% savings overall total gas and electric bill. One reason, of course, is that gas prices were already rising in 2022 and are even higher now. Total gas cost dropped by 77% because we replaced it by electricity, which caused our electric bill to increase by about 39%. But notably, the amount of CO2 greenhouse gas emissions has dropped in 2022 by 83%. So that's the vast majority of our greenhouse gas emissions for our house. I'd like to jump to what we did with our church. This is our church with rooftop solar. I'm providing you the inside scoop of my position on the solar committee that put in place this, purchased and put in place this solar. We measured 45 megawatt hours production for the full year from our April 2022 completion to April 2023. And this beautiful rooftop solar provides the church $14,000 per year from the T-Rex that New Jersey pays for electrical generation, plus the retail price of avoided grid electricity. We have a 5-year payback of its $63,000 cost. In addition, in the last 2 years, we replaced 6 of our gas furnaces with heat pumps. We use gas furnace as an ultra low temperature backup. And so the solar is now powering our new gas furnaces and is providing overall, over a 25-year solar lifetime, $277,000 payback. That return from the solar is greater than that total cost of anything we've done here recently. The cost of that solar system, cost of our 6 new heat pumps, and the cost of a new roof. This is very attractive return on investment because the solar, like in community solar, provides a 21% discount to our subscribers because they can take advantage of those tax breaks. And that's compared to the cost of old school electricity generated from fossil fuel and nuclear in New Jersey. In addition, our solar installer under contract with the church handled all paperwork and received all the tax credits, which the church was not eligible for as a nonprofit. That new IRA arrangement now, or further nonprofits, is likely similar to that, what we experienced when we signed the contract back in 2021. I want to take you to some data that we had in one of our webinars to show achievement of net zero emissions. Here, the blue is the CO2 carbon footprint year by year. Over 3 years, Matt Kavanaugh achieved net zero by installing a geothermal heat pump, a heat pump water heater, and installed rooftop solar. And he zeroed out not only his household, but also the greenhouse gas emissions of his 2 EVs. His path here of reduction in external energy consumption is in red, and it shows he reduced consumption 80% over those 3 years. That's 80% of imported electricity. We know there are still many questions we all have about how the IRA rebates and tax credits will work. Matt showed some of the individual amounts that are available for some building electrification and efficiency measures, EVs, and solar. This chart is a different view of the rebates and tax credits by different programs they fall into. It's from a talk by Dr. Leah Stokes, who is affiliated with Rewiring America. She is showing the different provisions among the programs. For example, the top 2 lines are rebate programs covering electrification and efficiency, respectively. The electrification program, called HERA, includes mostly electric appliances and basic weatherization for space heating. It is available only to low or moderate income, and it has a cap for a household and an overall budget cap. When the money allocated to each state runs out, it is done with. The HOMES program is a whole home efficiency measures program. It is available to all, but in different amounts. The bottom 3 lines are tax credits. They're different. They have each different limitations, such as annual caps by household, but the total budget is uncapped, meaning anyone can use them any year and they never run out, at least for the 9-year life of this program. The program names are 25C, D, and others, and these are IRS codes. You can Google them to find details. You can actually go to the bills themselves, which is, I tried doing that, and they're very dense. But they're already in existence, and they do change with the 2023 tax code. So if you look them up, you should be Googling 2023 details. I wanted to jump to what we have done recently. After working on our own electrification, we started on our daughter's house. To increase the comfort of my daughter's family, I commissioned first an energy audit. And this is an example of a New Jersey rebate home efficiency program called Home Performance with Energy Star. And it's probably going to be incorporated into the Homes IRA program because it will be canceled. The Home Performance with Energy Star is done in New Jersey will no longer be in existence after June or July next year, when the Homes IRA probably will take it over. The above work proposal you see in this slide is how it works on our daughter's home. This customized solution is for a whole house type energy audit and energy efficiency improvements, provides a $5,000 rebate paid to the contractor. And since the rule is that the calculated energy efficiency improvement had to be over 25% to get $5,000, and lesser amounts for less energy improvement. So here are next steps to plan your future. This is the last slide before questions and contains many links. These slides with links that I'll make sure are enabled will be shipped soon, probably tomorrow, to all registrants along with a recording. If you already know your home's energy performance, that's great. But first priority for others is to arrange an energy audit. And you can use those links to JCP&L or PS&G or to your own electric company to arrange for that audit. I highly recommend the link to a video by Dr. Leah Stokes. It's about 40 minutes long. It's really great description of the Inflation Reduction Act. Also, the link Determine Your Household Benefits is a link to the Rewiring America IRA calculator, which is the best we know of right now. And at the bottom of this, if you want even more references, please look at my site. I have over 300 current references on all building electrification topics, including the IRA. A little hint, if you search for best cold climate heat pump, you're going to find the top 3 brands, along with tools to locate nearby dealers who can provide your desired brand. And similarly, you can search for heat pump water heater, and you're going to find information. Like one question was, how do you compare tankless to heat pump water heater? And that's in the documents under heat pump water heater. I encourage you to take a look at the last link, the last 2 links, which will add, and I will be adding some information to chat right now. So that's our talk, formal talk, and we're now ready for questions. I'll stop share. There's quite a few questions.
I can go through the questions in the chat. I'll do them in order. I'm going to skip the ones that aren't really about the 2 laws, the infrastructure and the IRA law, because we only have a limited amount of time, and I think most people, I think I probably can only answer the ones that are about the laws. So the first question, do you think it would be helpful for demand to exceed supply regarding these programs? I think demand is going to exceed supply for the rebates, and I think that's bad. And I hope that that the state funding can make up the difference. That's really what has to happen. As far as the tax credits, I don't think demand can exceed the supply because they're unlimited. So as high as the demand can be is good for the earth. I know someone asked, is this just for New Jersey? This talk was formulated for a national audience, but then we took and made it personal to New Jersey as much as we could, because most of the people that attend our webinars are from New Jersey. I know Greg had a question about the circular economy, but really that's not part of this of these laws, so I don't really have an opinion or to give about that. John asked about, we built a new net zero home in 2022. That was one of our webinars. Thank you, John. Which of the following tax credits are we eligible for without the use of a consult or professional home energy audit? It seems like for the electrification, they're not saying anything about this. And when we've done, like we got a tax credit for our EV when we bought it several years ago. And, you know, it was just a matter of filling out the TurboTax form. There were no requirements except with the IRA. I know they're kicking around which EVs are going to be eligible or not. But for your house, it seems like everything should be available eligible, as long as it meets the criterion for their list of products. And the solar, I think, oh, you haven't done that yet, but the solar was even could have been on last year's 2022 or before that. That program was in effect.
A little addendum on that. I read, I think one of the IRS rulings, it's effective the date the appliance is put in service. So you might have bought it in 2020 22, but if you put it in service 2023, then you can take advantage of the tax laws in 2023. I would never double check that, but that's what I read.
Okay. Now, someone says owners need to purchase new cookware for use with induction stovetops. I understand that they just have to be magnetic. They have to be made out of a material that is magnetic. You can check your existing cookware by using a magnet and seeing if it sticks or not. And as long as it does, then it works. It won't work if it's what's the material, Steve, that doesn't work?
Aluminum doesn't.
Oh, if it's aluminum, it doesn't work. It just has to be steel or iron. John, I think what you put in about the amounts was what was on that one slide. Was that okay? What are the income limits for the rebates? You might have seen this later. Steve, you talked about the geographic areas and the mean.
Yes. I could throw up my special handy dandy all-in-one chart. Is this a good time?
But that doesn't talk about the
Oh,
income limits.
yeah, it does. The LMI, area median income, 80% and 150%.
Sure. Why don't you do that?
Sure. Okay. This is a very complex chart. I've tried to put in one chart everything I know. It might still have errors, but I think the numbers I typed in are correct.
And I told him it would take too long to explain it, so he should take it out.
Basically, here's the type of thing we're talking about: air source heat pump, heat pump water heater, electric induction stove, etc., going down. And then these are the New Jersey rebates that apply right now. The ones I know about are JCP&L and PSCG. And these are the things that apply for the new IRA tax credit that's applicable right now. And there's no income limit here. And then where the income limits come into effect is in these categories for the rebates. And we don't have any real data yet. New Jersey doesn't have anything out about what the rebates are going to be, how they'll be administered, quite what the requirements are, and we're warned that there will be differences state to state. So this is what the federal government is recommending. And there are income limits, very specific limits, in fact. So the first column, if your household income is less than 80% area median income, and you can ask what that is, and I'll show you in a second, then it pays up to 100% of that particular thing, like a heat pump, up to $8,000. So it's to your advantage to be less than the 80%. Or if you're between 80% and 150%, it pays only 50% of that heat pump, up to $8,000. So how do you find out what your area median income is? Well, you can go to this handy dandy area that I'm circling right now at the bottom, and that's Fannie Mae's AMI lookup tool. You put in your home address, and it will tell you what the census district area median income is for your area where you live. And I can give you some examples. I live in Middletown, section of Middletown. My daughter lives in South Brunswick. We have identical area median income of about $112,000. And that means that people with less than 90,000 income would be classed in this 100% category. That's a good class to be in. But it means that people with above $170,000 roughly are in this higher income category where they get only half the amount of them, the low income people. Did that answer the question? Maybe too much so. For how does your income affect what happens here?
Well, did you mention the AMI for Monmouth and Middlesex that you looked up?
Yeah, that was $112,000.
Okay.
Yes,
And 80% of that would
is about
be
90.
okay. And 150
Is
is
about 170,000. So if you earn more than $170,000, you're just not eligible for these things, with one exception. Down here, the home's energy efficiency model, which is really a home performance with Energy Star that I discussed with my daughter's house, has no upper income limit, but up to $4,000 available. 50% of the package of measures here, up to $4,000 would be paid, no matter what your income. So that's the one exception I know of.
okay. Yeah,
I'll
Darshana
I'll stop.
says, oh, oh, you can leave it there. Well, okay. Um, Darshana says, gives the link for Rewiring America, and it is a really, Rewiring America has the best information of any place that I've seen so far. What are the benefits of a heat pump water heater versus tankless electric water heater?
Yeah,
They just
I
more
have that.
efficient? Okay.
I have that actually in the reference document that I put the link in the chat. If you just look up heat pump water heaters, there is one chart that shows a direct comparison of all the attributes of all the various types of hot water, from gas to tankless to electric to heat pump, and it'll show you the relative efficiency. Heat pump water heater will be about 4 times as efficient as a direct electric water heater.
I know the auditor who audited our daughter's house um, insisted that we, for safety reasons, we were going to have to replace the gas water heater with an electric one, and we asked him about the direct heat, and he said, "I don't even talk about that." Yeah. Um, Gerald's talking about solar through PSE&G. I don't know if you were talking about community solar, but the community solar is through the developer, and different developers may have different contracts and contract terms. Um, so in ours, there wasn't there. In fact, I don't believe New Jersey even requires or even allows the community solar to have a contract um, term that, or at least they don't have a fee that you need to do. You might have been talking about clean electricity through PSE&G from a PSE&G as the supplier. Um, the third party suppliers do have contracts, but that's not the same as community solar. Oh, someone says with the community solar project, their first bill was 22% less than JCP&L. Great. We haven't gotten our first bill with after the community solar went into effect. So but it is guaranteed to be 21% less. Let's see. David wants to know, what did we do with the previous air AC unit? Well, it didn't work, so the installer took it with them.
I asked, by the way, do they recycle them? He said, no, they don't at all, because there's no guarantee it's going to not fail again or be bad. So they don't even try to resell it or recycle it.
Yeah. Oh, and Mary Rose answered, I think, the previous comment. This community solar is a fixed % discount for the life of the project, typically 20 years. Yeah, that's what we were told with ours. What would we do differently regarding our pool heater? Well, if we had known about heat pump pool heaters um, a long time ago, maybe we would have made the switch earlier. But otherwise, I think we would do the same thing again, given the knowledge that we have. And John answered the question about how much the solar system costs. He says $2.75 per watt for a solar system you purchase yourself. So $27,500 for a 10 kilowatt system. And you get the 30% tax credit, would be $8,250, except that there's an upper limit. I think no, there's not an upper limit for solar. It's just 30%. Oh, plus you get $85 per 1,000 kilowatts you generate through T-Rex. So you get T-Rex in addition. Okay. Sounds like a good deal. And it's really a good deal for the Earth. Okay. Yeah. The question is, what if you don't want to spend $130,000? I would recommend you not do it in 1 year anyway. You won't get much back. You'll get that $2,000 tax credit.
It could be as high as $3,200.
Yeah, $3,200 is the max for a year. If you use both JCP&L and PSE&G, I didn't know anybody could do that. I will tell you that we called PSE&G to try to get an audit for our daughter's house, and we did not get a return call at all.
I placed
So
several calls and left
we
messages.
ended up, yeah. But for our own house, we got an audit from JCP&L, and it worked just fine.
Well, based on that, I guess I'd recommend JCP&L.
Is it in their interest to reduce the electric bill? In the utilities interest?
Yeah, they're required, electric companies are required to have a 2% energy efficiency gain and a subsequent loss of level of electricity on the grid every year. So they have some interest in in making things efficient, because the BPU requires that reduction by the utility.
Okay. Ray asks, for rebates, is the income based on the current or prior year? It has to be a year that you've already paid your taxes on, so that you've already reported it. So it must be a prior year, and whether it can be before last year, I have no idea how that's going to work.
Well, that's rebates that aren't into effect yet. In fact, may not be until 2024.
But the year that you do it, it's probably the previous year's income.
Probably.
Or since the IRS is so backed up, it might be one prior to that, because they haven't reviewed your return yet. Okay. Why is there forced purchase solar electricity produced by homeowner even with a rebate? I don't understand that question.
That has to be a misunderstanding. I don't know of that situation.
No, I don't think there's no one is forced to do anything. Right now, everything is voluntary. So there are no mandates, there are no legal mandates unless they change the building codes. Um, and what they change the building codes to is going to be something reasonable. Any chance for carbon price and dividend in 2024? Well, it's not with these laws, that's for sure. And that would be a completely political thing to happen. So I can't make a prediction about the politics of it. Does battery rebate and tax credit depend on US made anode and cathode? I don't know what the rule is, but for EVs, I had heard that until they figure out what the rule is, or until the supply chain issues get fixed, that all EVs are going to be available. So I don't know about batteries.
It's probably talking about electrical storage.
I know, but does it, to get the tax credit, it has to be something that is approved, that it is on the approved list. And we don't know what the list is. I imagine it's in a state of flux right now. You know, we've gotten past 8:15 now.
Yeah.
We were going to stop. I know.
We're close to the end, I think, of the
People are
questions.
signing off.
Yes.
Okay. Incentives, credits, encouragement to get developers, institutional to electrify, go high performance. I think some of those grants or loans will cover new construction. But at this point, we don't know anything at all about the grants and loans and what the requirements are. And I've heard that organizations that are interested don't have the information they need or the forms that they need to fill out, and they're just waiting for the forms to come. And then the idea is to apply as quickly as you can before the money runs out. but right now we don't know what that's going to happen. Is it possible to ask a vendor the best way to pay them less? I think that's what Steve and the solar committee did with the vendors that they talked to.
Yeah, they turned out to, we ended up with a really good deal. In our case, we got bids from several and then negotiated something even better. And it's a matter of the terms of the contract that makes it best for the vendor and best for the consumer. In our case, we gave him basically the ownership of the system for 7 years on our roof, and he got all the tax benefits associated with ownership. In our case, we got the T-Rex and the electricity generation itself and the ability to buy it back after 7 years. So we both were happy, and we ended up settling for a very nice sum for a very large system.
Okay. John asks, if your income is over 150% of area median income, are you excluded from IRA incentives? You're not excluded from the tax credits ever. They're for everybody. But for the electrification rebates, yes, you are excluded. Steve, did you have difficulty finding heat pump water heaters?
I knew what I was looking for. It was not in stock in any local place like Lowe's or Home Depot, and they had it in central warehousing, so I had to order it shipped either to the store or to my house. So, and that shipping caused, I don't know, was it 2 weeks delay, which caused us some grief.
Yeah, but,
Yes,
but we managed.
we managed.
He plugged the leak
Yes.
temporarily. Okay, I think we're just about, we are to the end of the relevant questions here. So thank you so much, everyone who stuck through this, and thank everyone for coming.
And we invite you to our next webinar. It'll be June 15th, and the agenda is still to be announced. I hope to see you then.
Okay, great. All right, thanks a lot.
I can stop recording.